The morning sun cast long shadows across the dusty streets of New Seoul Colony. Hyun-woo Kim stood at his office window, watching the miners head to their shifts. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he barely noticed. Something felt different today. Below him, the colony looked peaceful. Children played in the small park near the residential area. Their mothers chatted while hanging laundry. Everything seemed normal, but Hyun-woo knew better. He had been the colony administrator for 3 years now, and his real job was far more important than anyone suspected. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Hyunji Park entered his office without waiting for permission. She moved like a cat, silent and alert. Most people saw her as just the head of colony security. They had no idea she could kill a man in 12 different ways. The morning patrol. "Found something?" she said quietly. "About 50 kilometers north. Burn marks in the rocks. Fresh ones." Hyun-woo set down his cup. "Ship landing?" "Maybe. Or maybe someone wants us to think that." Yunji crossed her arms. "Could be a test. See how we react." Hyun-woo nodded. They had been expecting visitors for months. Not the friendly kind. Intelligence reports from Earth suggested several alien species were looking at human colonies, testing them, looking for easy targets. "How are our people?" he asked. "Ready." Dongmin finished the last modifications yesterday. So Young has the communication systems running perfectly. Jae-sung says his surprises are in place. Yoonji smiled slightly. Everyone knows their jobs. Outside, Dongmin Lee was leading a group of workers toward the main mining site. To anyone watching, he looked like a typical chief engineer. Overalls, safety helmet, and a tablet full of boring mining data. What they could not see was the military precision in how he moved, or the way his eyes constantly scanned for threats. The mining site itself looked normal. Large machines dug into the rocky ground. Conveyor belts carried ore to processing plants. Workers operated heavy equipment with practiced skill. But Dongmin knew the truth. Half of those machines could become weapons in minutes. The processing, plants hid gun turrets. Even the conveyor belts served a second purpose. "Team leaders, report in," he spoke into his radio. To outsiders, it sounded like normal work coordination. His team understood the real message. Check your positions. Make sure everything is ready. Across the colony, So Young Choi sat in the communications center. Her workstation looked basic. A few monitors, some radio equipment, and standard colony management software. Visitors never suspected the hidden systems running underneath. Military-grade encryption, sensor networks that reached far beyond the colony. Electronic warfare tools that could crack alien technology. She reviewed the morning reports. Satellite data showed no unusual activity in space. Ground sensors detected normal wildlife movement. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful, maybe. "Anything interesting today?" asked her assistant, a young man named Tai Ho. "Just the usual," So Young replied. But her fingers danced across hidden controls, activating deep space monitoring systems. If something was coming, she would know first. Meanwhile, Jae-sung-oh worked in the maintenance tunnels beneath the colony. Officially, he kept the power systems running and fixed broken equipment. In reality, he was preparing for war. The tunnels connected every major building. They held secret weapon storage areas, emergency bunkers, and several nasty surprises for unwelcome guests. He checked the last batch of improvised explosives. They looked like normal maintenance equipment. Circuit breakers, power junction boxes, spare parts containers. But each one could create serious damage if triggered. Jae-sung was proud of his work. 20 years in Earth's demolition corps had taught him to be creative. Above ground, life continued normally. Families ate lunch together. Workers complained about the heat. Teenagers gathered at the small arcade. Nobody seemed worried about alien attacks or military secrets. That was exactly how it should look. But Hyun-woo knew the truth about every person in the colony. The doctor had served as a combat medic. The school teacher was a former intelligence analyst. The cook in the main cafeteria could field strip a rifle blindfolded. Even some of the older children had basic military training. New Seoul was not really a mining colony. It was a fortress disguised as a peaceful settlement. Every building served multiple purposes. Every resident had hidden skills. And every day they practiced for the moment when their act would be tested. The plan was simple but brilliant. Earth needed mining colonies on the frontier, but frontier colonies were vulnerable to alien raids, so Earth's military came up with a solution. Build colonies that looked weak but were actually strong. Fill them with soldiers pretending to be civilians, and wait for someone to make the mistake of attacking. As afternoon turned to evening, Hyun-woo reviewed the daily reports. Mining production was on schedule. Colony systems were running smoothly. Security patrols found nothing unusual. To anyone, reading these reports, New Seoul looked boring and unimportant. Perfect. That night, the colony settled into its evening routine. Families watched movies together. Young people met at the small coffee shop. Older residents played cards in the community center. Security guards walked their normal patrols. Everything looked peaceful and safe. But in hidden rooms throughout the colony, other activities took place. Weapons were cleaned and checked. Ammunition was counted and distributed. Communication codes were updated. Battle plans were reviewed one more time. Yoon-ji made her final rounds, visiting each team leader. They spoke in casual words about weather and work schedules, but the real messages were different. Stay alert, be ready, trust your training. In his apartment, Hyun-woo looked at star charts on his personal computer. To his neighbors, he seemed like a man planning mining surveys. In reality, he was studying possible attack routes, calculating response times, preparing for multiple scenarios. Far above the planet, hidden sensors watched the space around New Seoul. Automated systems scanned for unusual energy signatures. If hostile ships approached, the colony would know long before they arrived. As the colony slept, a few people remained awake. Guard duty, system monitoring, emergency preparedness. They rotated shifts to avoid suspicion. To outsiders, it looked like normal security procedures, but they were really waiting for the test they knew would come. When it did, the aliens attacking, New Seoul would discover that their easy target was actually their worst nightmare. A trap designed by humans who understood that the best defense sometimes looked like no defense at all. The stage was set. The actors were in position. Now all they needed was an audience foolish enough to buy tickets to their own destruction. The first sign of trouble came at 6:42 a.m. local time. So Young was drinking her morning coffee when her hidden screens started flashing red warnings. 3 large ships had just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. They were big, they were armed, and they were heading straight for New Seoul. She pressed a button disguised as part of her normal equipment. Across the colony, hidden speakers crackled to life in apartments and workplaces. The message sounded routine. Attention all residents. Weather services report possible storm activity today. Please review safety procedures. This is a Pattern 7 alert. Pattern 7. That meant incoming hostile ships. Estimated arrival time unknown. All personnel should prepare for combat while maintaining normal appearance. Hyun-woo received the alert in his office. He looked calm as he reviewed mining reports on his computer, but his fingers were typing different commands, activating hidden systems, checking weapon status, confirming that all teams were ready. 3 minutes later, his screen showed the incoming ships in detail. They were Valtharan vessels. The Valtharan Empire had a reputation for brutal slave raids. They preferred targets that could not fight. Back. Perfect. Yoonji was already moving through the colony, visiting each position. To anyone watching, she looked like a security chief doing routine inspections. In reality, she was confirming final preparations with her soldiers. At the mining site, Dongmin gathered his workers for the morning safety briefing, a normal routine that nobody would question. As he talked about equipment maintenance and production, schedules, his people understood the real message. Combat positions. Weapons ready. Wait for orders. The alien ships moved closer. Long-range sensors showed they were scanning the colony, probably looking for defenses, counting population, estimating resistance levels. What they saw matched perfectly with intelligence reports. A small, poorly defended mining settlement. Easy prey. On board the lead Valtharan cruiser, Commander Rixthon studied the sensor data. His second-in-command, Velmora, leaned over his shoulder. Exactly as described, she said. Minimal defensive structures. No heavy weapons detected. Population appears to be standard human civilians. Good, Rixthon replied. We will take the usual approach, fast strike. Disable their communications, land troops to secure valuable prisoners. The whole operation should take less than an hour. The Valtharan had done this many times before. Human colonies were profitable targets. The creatures made excellent slaves when properly trained. And their technology, while primitive, had some interesting applications. Back on New Seoul, the colonists continued their normal morning routines. Children walked to school. Adults reported to work assignments. Everyone looked calm and unsuspecting. But hidden beneath this peaceful surface, 300 trained soldiers were taking combat positions. Jae-sung made his way through the maintenance tunnels, checking final preparations. His improvised explosives were armed and ready. Hidden weapon. Caches were unlocked. Emergency bunkers were stocked with supplies. If the colony had to fight, they would be ready for a long battle. The alien ships reached optimal attack position at exactly 7 a.m. Rixthon gave the order to begin the assault. Energy weapons fired down from space, targeting the colony's communication, array, and power plant. Standard procedure. Cut off their ability to call for help or coordinate resistance. But the first surprise came immediately. The communication array absorbed the energy blasts without taking damage. Advanced shielding that had been hidden inside ordinary-looking equipment suddenly activated. The power plant not only survived the attack, but actually grew stronger, feeding energy from the alien weapons into the colony's defensive systems. What? Rixthon stared at his screens. How is that possible? Before he could figure out an answer, landing pods launched from all 3 ships. 200 Valtharan warriors dropped toward the colony surface. They expected to find panicking, humans running in terror. Instead, they found something very different. The landing pods touched down in the main plaza at 7:03 a.m. Armored alien soldiers emerged, weapons ready. They looked around for fleeing civilians to capture. The plaza was empty except for a single human, standing calmly in the center. Hyun-woo Kim stood with his hands behind his back, wearing his normal administrator uniform. He looked completely unafraid. The aliens advanced toward him, probably planning to take him prisoner for interrogation. "Welcome to New Seoul," Hyunwoo said in perfect Valtharan language. "I hope you enjoy your stay. Though I should warn you, checkout time is much sooner than you think." The alien squad leader raised his weapon, confused by the human's calm behavior. That was when the second surprise hit. Hidden panels in the plaza floor slid open. What had looked like decorative stonework revealed itself as concealed fighting positions. 50 human soldiers emerged simultaneously, wearing full combat armor and carrying military-grade weapons. But these were not random militia fighters. These were Earth Defense Corps veterans, the best soldiers humanity had produced. And they had been waiting for this moment for months. The aliens had trained to fight panicking civilians. They had no experience fighting professional human military forces. The difference became clear immediately. Human weapons fired with precise coordination. Each shot found its target. Alien soldiers who had expected easy victories found themselves in a perfectly planned ambush. Half of the landing force was eliminated in the first 30 seconds. At the mining site, Dongmin's people were springing their own trap. The large mining machines that had looked so innocent suddenly transformed. Hidden armor plating extended. Drilling equipment rotated to reveal weapon barrels. Processing plants opened up to show missile launchers. The aliens who landed near the mines thought they were attacking industrial workers. Instead, they found themselves facing a fully armed mechanized infantry unit using mining equipment as improvised tanks. More surprises kept coming. The colony's children, who should have been running to safety, were actually coordinating defensive fire from hidden command bunkers. Their video games had been combat simulations. Their school exercises had been military training. So-young was having the most fun of all. Her communication equipment was not just receiving alien transmissions, it was actively hacking into Valtharan systems. Within minutes, she had access to their tactical networks. She began feeding false information to alien commanders while giving perfect intelligence to human defenders. The aliens found their own weapons turning against them. Their communication systems sent contradictory orders. Their targeting computers started attacking their own forces. What should have been a simple raid was turning into a technological nightmare. Commander Rixthon watched his carefully planned assault fall apart in real time. His forces were not just losing, they were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should not have existed. "This is impossible," he told Velmora. "Intelligence said this was a mining colony. Minimal defenses. Civilian population." "Either intelligence was wrong," she replied grimly, "or we have fallen into a very sophisticated trap." As alien casualties mounted and human resistance proved far stronger than expected, one fact became clear. The easy target they had chosen was actually a carefully prepared ambush, and the 7 minutes that followed would be the longest 7 minutes in Valtharan military history. 3 minutes into the battle, the aliens realized they were in serious trouble. But they had no idea how much worse things were about to get. Jae-sung. Oh was in his element. 20 years of military demolition experience had taught him to see every piece of equipment as a potential weapon. Now he was putting that knowledge to work in ways that would have impressed his old instructors. The maintenance tunnels beneath New Seoul were not just for repairs. They formed a complete underground network that connected every major building. Jae-sung had spent months preparing special surprises throughout this system. When the first alien squad tried to breach the colony's main power building, they thought they were facing a simple metal door. They attached standard explosive charges and stepped back. The explosion opened the door exactly as planned. What they did not expect was what happened next. Jae-sung had wired the door frame with motion sensors. As soon as the aliens stepped through, they triggered a chain reaction of improvised explosives hidden throughout the building. What looked like normal electrical equipment suddenly became deadly fragmentation devices. The entire alien squad disappeared in a series of perfectly timed explosions. The building itself was undamaged, but the attackers were completely eliminated. Jae-sung watched through hidden cameras and smiled. One down, many more to go. Meanwhile, So-young was demonstrating why Earth's communication specialists were the best in known space. The Viltharan Empire used advanced technology, but they had never faced an opponent who understood psychological warfare as well as humans did. She had cracked their tactical network within minutes. Now she was using it against them in creative ways. False orders sent alien squads marching into carefully prepared kill zones. Fake casualty reports made commanders think they were winning when they were actually losing badly. But her most clever trick was turning their own equipment into weapons. Viltharan armor included communication systems that could be remotely accessed. So-young began uploading virus programs that overloaded their power systems. Alien soldiers suddenly found their own armor, shocking them unconscious. At the mining site, Dongmin was showing why humans were masters of improvised engineering. The mining equipment had been modified over several months to serve double duty, but even he was improvising new tricks as the battle developed. A group of aliens tried to take cover behind a large ore container. Dongmin quickly reprogrammed the magnetic handling system. The container suddenly shot forward like a giant bullet, crushing the entire squad against a rock wall. Another alien team thought they could disable the mining machines by attacking their control systems. They did not know that Dongmin had installed backup controls in hidden locations. When they destroyed the obvious control panel, he simply switched to manual operation from a concealed position. The drilling equipment proved especially useful. The massive drill bits were designed to cut through solid rock. They worked just as well on alien armor. Dongmin began using the mobile drilling platforms like tanks, driving them directly at enemy positions. But the most impressive display of human ingenuity was happening in the colony's residential area. The families living there were not really families. They were military units disguised as civilian households. When aliens tried to take hostages from the school building, they found the teachers waiting for them. But these teachers were former military instructors. The classroom supplies included hidden weapons, and the children knew exactly what to do in combat situations. 8-year-old Mi-young Park looked like a normal little girl. She was actually the daughter of 2 intelligence officers and had been training for this moment her entire life. When an alien soldier grabbed her as a hostage, she bit his arm and rolled away in a perfect escape maneuver while her teacher shot him. The colony's medical center became another surprise. Dr. Sungmin Choi appeared to be a civilian doctor treating mining injuries. In reality, he was a former combat medic who had served in 3 different wars. His medical supplies included battlefield surgical equipment and emergency combat drugs. When wounded aliens were brought to the medical center by their own forces, expecting treatment under standard military protocols, Dr. Choi provided a different kind of care: sedatives that put them to sleep permanently, surgical procedures that gathered intelligence while appearing to help, and medical scanning that revealed alien physiological weaknesses. Yoonji Park was coordinating all of these efforts while fighting her own battles. Her security team moved through the colony like a special forces unit, which is exactly what they were. Each member had specific expertise that complemented the others. Her sniper, Woo Jin Kim, had positioned himself in the communications tower. From there, he could see the entire battlefield and pick off alien commanders with precision shots. His rifle looked like standard colony security equipment, but was actually a military-grade precision weapon. Her assault specialist, Hai Jin Lee, was clearing buildings room by room. She moved like a ghost, appearing behind alien soldiers and eliminating them before they knew she was there. Her equipment bag contained enough explosives to level a city block if necessary. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. The aliens thought they understood the scope of the colony's defenses. 300 residents, some mining equipment converted to weapons, and better organization than expected. Challenging but manageable with proper tactics. They had no idea about the underground factory. Beneath the main mining complex, hidden behind layers of rock and false walls, was a complete weapons manufacturing facility. For 3 years, the colonists had been producing military equipment while appearing to mine simple ore. Ammunition, explosives, advanced electronics, and even small vehicles had been manufactured in secret. The colony was not just defended by what they had brought from Earth. They were producing their own weapons using local materials. When Dongmin activated the underground facility, production lines that had been making mining equipment suddenly switched to military hardware. Within minutes, fresh supplies were being delivered to every fighting position through the hidden tunnel network. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that was getting stronger instead of weaker. Every attack they made was met with new weapons and tactics. Every position they captured was retaken by defenders who seemed to appear from nowhere. Commander Rixthon was studying battle reports that made no sense. His forces should have overwhelmed the colony in the first few minutes. Instead, they were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that was far more capable than any intelligence report had suggested. "How many humans are down there?" he asked Velmora. "Sensors showed less than 3,000 when we arrived," she replied. "But they are fighting like 30,000. Because they are not civilians," Rixthon realized. "This entire colony is a military installation disguised as a mining operation." The truth was even worse than he suspected. New Sol was not just one military base pretending to be a civilian colony. It was part of a network of similar installations throughout human space. Earth had been preparing for alien attacks for years, and the Valtheran Empire had just walked into their most sophisticated trap. As the battle entered its 4th minute, the aliens were learning a hard lesson about human military thinking. Humans did not just prepare for war. They prepared for every possible kind of war, using every available resource, and they never stopped innovating new ways to fight. The easy target they had chosen was about to teach them why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 6 minutes into the battle, Commander Rixthon was beginning to understand the scope of his mistake. His ground forces were being destroyed faster than he could deploy them. His tactical networks were compromised, and the humans were fighting, with a level of coordination that suggested extensive military training. But he still thought he could salvage the situation. The Valtharan Empire had 3 heavy cruisers in orbit. Surely that was enough firepower to destroy a single colony, no matter how well defended. He was about to learn that humans had prepared for orbital bombardment too. Hyunwoo Kim stood in his command center, which had revealed itself when the colony's disguise was dropped. What had looked like a simple administrator's office was actually a sophisticated military command post. Screens showed the positions of every human and alien unit on the planet. Communication links connected him to Earth Command and other hidden colonies throughout the sector. "Orbital phase is ready," Yunji reported. "All systems are green." Underground teams are in position, added Jae Sung through the communication system. Electronic warfare package is loaded and ready. So Young confirmed. Yunwoo nodded. Activate Orbital Defense Protocol. Show them what a real military installation looks like. High above the planet, the 3 Valtharan cruisers prepared to rain destruction on the troublesome colony. Their weapons could turn the entire settlement into molten glass. Even military installations could not survive a full orbital bombardment. But, as they powered up their main guns, something strange appeared on their sensors. Objects were rising from the planet's surface. Large objects moving fast, heading directly toward the fleet. "What are those?" Velmora asked, staring at her screen. Before Rixthon could answer, the first missiles struck his lead cruiser. The impacts shook the massive ship like a toy. Emergency alarms began sounding throughout the bridge. "Impossible," he whispered. "No colonial settlement has orbital defense missiles." More missiles followed. Not just a few, but dozens. Then hundreds. They seemed to be launching from everywhere on the planet's surface. The colony was not just defended. It was armed like a major military fortress. The truth was even more impressive than it appeared. Earth's military planners had spent years preparing for exactly this scenario. Every major colonial world included hidden orbital defense systems, but they were designed to look like something else until activated. The missile launches were coming from sites that had appeared to be mining equipment, water processing plants, power generators, and even residential buildings. The colonists had been living and working around military hardware for years, without most of them even knowing it. Dongmin had been particularly proud of his contribution. The mining operation was real and productive, but the ore processing equipment doubled as missile fabrication systems. For 3 years, they had been producing both metals and weapons simultaneously. The missiles themselves were a masterpiece of human engineering. They looked like standard planetary defense weapons, but each one carried advanced electronic warfare systems designed by So Young's team. As they approached the alien ships, they began hacking into Valtharan defensive systems. The first cruiser's shields flickered and failed just as the missiles reached impact range. Without protection, the massive ship's armor was no match for direct hits from military-grade explosives. Explosions bloomed across its hull as critical systems failed. "All ships, evasive action," Rixthon ordered. "Return fire on those launch sites." But the Valtharan gunners found their targeting systems malfunctioning. So Young's electronic warfare programs were spreading through their networks like a virus. Weapons that should have fired on the planet instead fired randomly into space. Navigation systems began giving false readings. Even life support systems started showing error messages. The second surprise came as the aliens tried to retreat to a safer distance. 3 objects that had been orbiting the planet like small asteroids suddenly revealed their true nature. Hidden weapon platforms, disguised as space debris, activated and began firing on the fleeing ships. These platforms had been in place for months, carefully positioned to look like natural objects. Long-range sensors would have classified them as mining, waste or captured asteroids. In reality, they were fully armed battle stations with enough firepower to destroy any ship in the system. But the biggest surprise was still coming. As the damaged Valtharan fleet tried to regroup, 3 new contacts appeared on their sensors. Large ships approaching fast from the outer system. Rixthon felt a moment of hope. Perhaps reinforcements had arrived. Then the ships came close enough for detailed scans, and his hope turned to terror. They were not Valtharan vessels. They were human warships. 3 Earth battle cruisers, each one larger and more powerful than his own cruisers. and they had been hiding in the system all along, using advanced stealth technology. "This is Captain Jinho Park of the Earth battlecruiser Incheon," came a calm voice over the communication channel. "You are ordered to surrender immediately or be destroyed." Rixthon stared at his screens in disbelief. The colony had not been an easy target. It had been bait. The entire operation was a trap designed to lure alien raiders into a carefully planned ambush. "How long have they been here?" Velmora asked quietly. "Based on their positions," the tactical officer replied. "At least several weeks. They were waiting for us." The human battlecruisers moved with practiced precision, taking positions that blocked every possible escape route. Their weapons locked onto the damaged Vieltheran ships. The fleet that had come to raid a defenseless colony now faced destruction by superior forces. On the planet's surface, the ground battle was entering its final phase. The alien soldiers who had survived the initial ambush were now trapped in a shrinking perimeter, surrounded by human forces that seemed to anticipate their every move. Jae-sung had prepared one final surprise for the remaining invaders. The entire colony was connected by underground tunnels, but those tunnels were more than just transportation routes. They were also a massive explosive system. With the touch of a button, he could turn the underground network into a chain reaction that would eliminate every alien position simultaneously. The colonists had evacuation routes that would keep them safe. The aliens had no idea what was coming. "All human forces, fall back to safe positions," Yoonji ordered over the communication system. "Prepare for underground detonation in 30 seconds." The remaining aliens found themselves suddenly alone as human defenders disappeared into hidden bunkers and tunnels. For a moment, they might have thought they were winning. Then Jae-sung activated his masterpiece. Explosions erupted throughout the colony as hidden charges detonated in perfect sequence. But these were not random explosions. They were carefully shaped charges that destroyed alien positions while leaving human structures intact. In space, the Vieltheran fleet was facing its own final moments. The Earth battlecruisers had opened fire with devastating effect. Advanced human weapons tore through alien armor like paper. Shields that should have provided protection were overloaded by electronic warfare systems. Commander Rixthon watched his flagship die around him. Emergency systems failed one by one. The bridge filled with smoke and sparks. His crew struggled to maintain basic life support as the ship broke apart under sustained fire. In his final moments, he understood the truth. The humans had not just been lucky or well prepared. They had orchestrated the entire encounter from beginning to end. The intelligence reports, the apparent vulnerability, even the timing of the attack had all been carefully managed to draw the Vieltheran fleet into this trap. As his ship's communication system died, Rixthon managed to send one last transmission to the Vieltheran Empire, a warning that would change how every alien species in the galaxy thought about attacking human colonies. 7 minutes after the first alien ship had appeared, the battle was over. 3 Vieltheran cruisers destroyed, 200 elite alien soldiers eliminated, 0 human casualties. The easy target had become a perfect victory. The silence after battle was almost strange. For 7 minutes, the space around New Seoul had been filled with explosions, weapon fire, and desperate alien communications. Now there was only the quiet hum of colony systems returning to normal. Operations. Hyun-woo Kim stood in his command center watching the tactical displays show green lights across the board. All human forces were safe. All alien threats were eliminated. The trap had worked perfectly. "Casualty report?" he asked Yoonji. 3 minor injuries, she replied. Jinsu scraped his knee running to a combat position, Hirin got a small cut from broken glass, and old man Tae-wan pulled a muscle moving too fast for someone his age. Hyunwoo smiled. Make sure they get medical attention and commendations. This was a perfect operation. Outside, the colony was already returning to its peaceful appearance. The hidden weapon systems retracted into their concealed positions. The defensive barriers folded back into the ground. Within an hour, New Seoul would look like a simple mining settlement again. But the real work was just beginning. So Young was busy at her communication station, no longer hiding its true capabilities. She was uploading the complete battle recording to Earth Command. Every second of the engagement had been captured in perfect detail. The video would be studied by military analysts and used for training purposes. More importantly, she was preparing to broadcast the recording across known space. Every species in the galaxy would receive a copy of what happened when someone attacked a human colony. The message would be clear and simple. Humans were not easy targets. The Veltheran Empire will receive their copy within 6 hours, she reported. All other major governments within 12 hours. By the end of the week, every civilized world will have seen this. Dong Min was overseeing the cleanup at the mining site. His people were already converting the military equipment back to normal mining operations. The missile launchers became ore processors again. The armored vehicles returned to their disguise as maintenance equipment, but he was also preparing for the next phase of operations. The battle had revealed the colony's true nature, which meant they could no longer maintain the same level of secrecy. New defense systems would be needed, better weapons, more obvious fortifications. How long until we're ready for the next attack? Hyunwoo asked him over the radio. Give me 2 weeks. Dongmin replied. We'll be stronger than before, and much harder to surprise. Jae Sung was conducting his own post-battle activities in the underground tunnels. His explosive surprises had worked perfectly, but using them meant replacing them. He was already planning new and more creative defensive measures. The tunnel network would be expanded. More hidden weapon caches would be installed. And he had some ideas for really nasty surprises that would make future attackers very sorry. They had chosen New Seoul as a target. In space, Captain Jin Ho Park of the battlecruiser Incheon was overseeing the salvage operations. The wreckage of 3 Veltheran cruisers would provide valuable intelligence about alien technology. Every piece of equipment would be studied and analyzed. But more important than the technology was the psychological impact. The Veltheran Empire had lost an entire fleet attacking what they thought was a defenseless colony. Other potential enemies would think very carefully before making the same mistake. Any survivors? Hyunwoo asked over the fleet communication channel. Negative, Captain Park replied. The aliens fought to the end rather than surrender. We have their final transmission, though, quite educational. The final transmission from Commander Rixthon was indeed educational. So Young had recorded and analyzed every word. The alien commander's last message to his empire was a warning about human military capabilities and tactical deception. Do not underestimate the humans, the transmission said. Their colonies are not what they appear to be. This was not a raid against civilians. It was a carefully planned military ambush. The humans turned their entire settlement into a weapon while making it look defenseless. They are far more dangerous than our intelligence suggested. The recording would become required, study material in Earth's military academies, but it would also serve another purpose. When the Veltheran Empire shared it with other species, as they certainly would, it would spread the message that humans were not the primitive, scattered people that many aliens believed them to be. As the day progressed, reports began arriving from other human colonies throughout the sector. Similar attacks had been attempted on 3 other worlds. All had been defeated with similar results. The Valtharan Empire had lost 12 ships and over 1,000 soldiers in a single day. But New Sol's victory was special. It had been the most complete and devastating defeat. 7 minutes from first contact to total alien destruction. 0 human casualties. A perfect demonstration of human military planning and execution. The colony's children, who had played their own parts in the battle, returned to their normal routines. They attended classes, played games, and did homework. But they also participated in debriefing sessions where they discussed what they had learned and how they could improve their performance. 8-year-old Mi-young Park was proud of her escape maneuver. Her parents praised her for following her, training perfectly. But they also reminded her that the goal was always to avoid fighting when possible. The best victory was one where nobody got hurt. Dr. Sung-min Choi was treating the 3 injured colonists in his medical center. Their wounds were minor and would heal quickly, but he was also preparing medical protocols for future battles. Next time, they might not be so lucky. The families throughout the colony gathered for dinner that evening, just like any normal day. They talked about work and school and weekend plans, but they also talked about the battle, what had gone well, what could be improved, how to be even better prepared next time. As night fell, Hyun-woo made his final rounds through the colony. Everything was peaceful and quiet. Guards walked their normal patrols. Families watched movies in their homes. Young people gathered at the coffee shop to chat and laugh, but now everyone knew the truth about their home. New Sol was not just a mining colony, it was a fortress, and every person living there was a soldier in humanity's defense against alien threats. The message had been sent, loud and clear. Human colonies were not easy targets. They were carefully prepared military installations filled with professional soldiers pretending to be civilians. Any species that attacked them would face the same fate as the Valtharan fleet. In the weeks that followed, intelligence reports began arriving from across the galaxy. Multiple alien governments were reviewing their policies toward human space. Several planned raids were quietly canceled. Defense analysts estimated that the New Sol victory had prevented dozens of future attacks through pure deterrence. But Hyun-woo knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was a dangerous place, filled with predatory species that viewed humans as potential prey. Today's victory would make them more cautious, but it would not eliminate the threat entirely. That was fine. Humans were good at long-term planning. Every colony in human space was preparing for the next test. And when it came, the aliens would discover that New Sol was not unique. Every human settlement was a potential fortress. Every human civilian was a potential soldier. The species that had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them had not forgotten how to fight. They had simply gotten better at hiding their weapons until the moment they were needed. The easy targets that alien raiders sought did not exist in human space. There were only traps waiting for the next predator, foolish enough to test humanity's resolve.